Hi everyone, Viridian Art here. We are going to make a jar still life that you can add anything inside that you would like. I'm going to do flowers in mine, but you can fill your jar with cookies. You can fill your jar with Legos. You can fill your jar with planets. Completely up to you. Let's get started on the project. We're going to need a few supplies. I have paper, pencil, and eraser. I'm going to be using watercolor and oil pastels to add color into mine. You can use anything that you'd like. You can do all crayon or marker or color pencil. You can mix materials if you'd like. Anything will work for this, but pencil and eraser and paper is our most important materials that we're going to use. Let's get started on creating a jar. I'm gonna start right about middle of my paper. My paper is tall, like a portrait. So right in the middle with a nice round oval. Notice how I'm going very soft and lightly at first, and then I can darken it up. This is gonna be the top of my jar. Notice how much space that takes up on my paper. So not very big. You can always compare it to your fingers. Like 3 or 4 fingers wide is about how big we want it to be. From there, I'm going to make 2 lines that are pretty short that come down from the side of my oval. And then a nice rounded smile shape that follows the shape of my oval. So this is the opening of the jar. So notice the bottom is pretty similar in size to the top. My lines coming down on the side are perfectly straight. We're going to make another oval down below that's a little bit bigger than the top oval that I started with. We don't want it down at the very bottom. We want to give ourselves some room to create a shadow. So I'm going to so lightly make an oval. I do want it to be bigger than the oval that's at the top, so constantly compare the two. So I'm going to darken mine up now that I know my oval's in a good spot and it's a good size. This part you might need to work on it a few times until you get it just right. We do want it right below the top oval. From the side, I'm going to go straight up from the side of my oval, and because this one is bigger, notice it doesn't meet up directly with the top of the jar, so we just want to curve that top part. Okay, and it's going to touch the bottom of the opening. Let's do the other side, straight up from the side of my oval and curve. Let's add in a shadow. So under the jar, going to either side, I am going to use my pencil and shade in underneath and going off to the side. Notice I'm just rubbing my pencil back and forth, kind of going all in the same direction. Go right up to the edge of that jar. So now that we've put in a shadow, use your finger and you can just blend right over that pencil and it just smooths out those pencil lines. Makes the edges kind of fuzzy. We can add in some shading in this bottom circle. This shading I'm not going to go as dark as my shadow. So notice I'm just going around the inner part of the circle. Use your finger as well to blend that pencil. Notice it's much lighter than the shadow on the outside, so very important that they're not the same. I'm going to do the same thing with some shading, going down the side of my jar and the other side of my jar. And underneath that opening just a little bit, use your finger, and again, you can blend I'm going to create some ridges on the opening of my jar. So these little lines that are following that curve of that top oval. I could do some on this side. Notice they don't go all the way across. So different lengths. I just have two going from each side. You can take your finger and blend gently over that. And I'm going to do a little bit more shading. Just following this top curve of my oval. And take your finger and blend. From there, you can add anything you'd like into your jar. You can draw in anything with pastels or draw it with pencil first and then fill it in with color. If you want to add flowers, you can follow along with me through the next steps. So I'm just going to use some oil pastel, crayons, or color pencil works great for this step. We're going to draw stems that start inside the jar. We are not going to go over this front part. I'm making a stem. And I'm going to stop when I hit that bottom part of my oval and continue it right above. So I have a stem, and I'm going to make another stem. Same thing, stop at the front of the jar and then continue. And I'm going to make some leaves. You can do short round leaves, oval leaves, any shape that you want, or no leaves at all, totally up to you. And I just filled those in. I'm just going to start with 2 stems before I go on to add more. I will add in flowers and then add in some more stems. I'm going to switch over to watercolor for the flowers. You can continue with pastel or crayon, whatever you started with, or switch to a different material. So I have water, and let's pick any color you'd like for your flowers. And I'm just going to make a nice oval shape. And another one could be the same color or different color. This is just the base color of our flower. I'm going to add lots of texture on top of that. And I'm going to pick a new color for a flower. You can choose to put a flower anywhere you want. I'm going to add in just these little tiny brush strokes, all going from the center, almost like a star or sun. I'm going to put one over here. Same thing. Choose a new color and do a different style of flower. So I'm just adding in different textures. So texture just means different types of brush strokes going in different directions. So this flower is these little dots that are curving over to a little point. You can do the same thing anywhere else. And clean my brush and add in another flower. So this is similar to this little starburst looking flower, but all my lines are only going in one direction. So I'm going to add some textures on top of my oval flowers. So I'm going to create these little strokes all going in a circular shape. So they're just following the round oval shape. I'm going to do the same on this one. So with a different color, I'm going to do the same thing and just add more of these strokes. Notice I'm going a little bit outside my circle, and I can go in between. And it's okay for them to overlap. that same little brush stroke effect, I can add in some more texture into these, creating just more dots in a different color. I'm gonna do just a color going in the center of my little starburst ones. I'll add a little bit of green right at the stem of my yellow flowers. And you could keep adding as much as you want. You can add stems going down into your jar. And just making sure the stems are connecting to the flower and down to the jar. You can use several different types of greens. Just every time skip over this part. And you can add in different shaped leaves. One last part that I did that I really enjoyed is adding a little bit of splatter into my background. So take the brush, I'm using some blue paint. Notice it's not drippy, but there's plenty of paint on there, and you're gonna take your finger and pull your bristles back and aim it right down at your painting, and I'm just splattering in some blue splatters. The closer you get, the closer the splatters will be, but it's just a fun effect. And that's it for our jar. You can keep adding as much as you want. If you want to add water in the jar, you can do that. You can add in anything in the background. I hope everyone enjoyed this lesson. See you guys next time. Bye.